preliminary. You can just do a preliminary survey just for us to work with. Then the engineer can go out there and do all their test pits, say, yep, this is where things are gonna go. Then you can draw the line to fit everything. Right now, no matter where you put that line, I'm telling you, it'll run right across something. You know, the septic or a well or whatever. For the prelim, and we'll write down on here, what we want to see for that preliminary plat review. Give you that checklist, and you'll see that it does not include some of the things that are on the final. Okay. So you can join us for the rest of the meeting, or you can.
Although it's very tight. I think I'm, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
Pleasure meeting you all. Thank you.
Good discussion. You're welcome.
And then for the board members, what we've historically done with the subdivisions is right after the meeting, because it's still like this one's really short, right after the meeting, we just stay. And we can go through these couple forms that we have for our comments while it's fresh in everybody's mind. And because it's a sketch plan review, if there's something you're unsure of, we can just write it down. You don't have to know everything about the subdivision regulations. But I don't think, there's any reason to sit on it and to have a big meeting later.
Yeah, let's get it over
Okay.
with. Yeah, it's fresh.
Okay, we have approval of meeting minutes from July 22nd. I have a few comments. Okay, page 2. The first paragraph. It starts with April. If we go down about halfway, when I start talking. After the sentence of Todd Hindinger stated, the next one. He also stated, you with me there? Okay.
Yeah.
He also stated that if you cross out an AUD is and replace that 2 ADUs are not allowed, and then cross out on A and put in with a single family home.
Okay.
And then down at the bottom, the second to last paragraph, in brackets there, potable water. And those were that's what I noticed. Anybody else have any?
No, I think you got it.
Yeah, believe it. I always catch spelling errors. Is right by that.
I kind of like the idea of potable water. I mean, it just sounds more interesting. What is potable anyway?
Put it in a pot, I guess. I always thought it was a weird word, but.
Yeah.
So can we,
Yeah, I'll move to accept the minutes as corrected.
I'll second that.
all those in favor? Aye. And Michael, you can, if you don't come to a meeting, you can still vote to approve the minutes or not, or you can just sit it out. Sit this one out because you weren't at the meeting.
Since I wasn't at the meeting, I think it'd be appropriate to abstain.
Okay, Ryan. Update of what's going on in Weathersfield for us.
So as it was at the last time we met, where the planning commission's working through the town plan and kind of hyper focused on that now. As they go through different chapters, the list of potential bylaw changes and things keeps getting longer. But we've delegated the chapters to board members for their sort of second and third drafts and things like that. So I think we're moving pretty quickly now. We have a special meeting on next Monday to go over 3 more chapters. And then I would expect, and we're slowly bringing them up to the select board kind of one at a time so they're not overwhelmed by the whole town plan when it's ready. So I guess that's where everything sits. There hasn't been any changes to bylaws.
Do you remember what the 3 things are for Monday?
The chapters, there's the education chapter, utilities and facilities chapter, and economic development. We've already presented to the select board the land use chapter, and just last night, the natural scenic historic resources and flood resilience chapter. So they'll continue to be, I guess the kind of the content in there is somewhat finalized. There's still sort of small grammatical type stuff and formatting. But after all the chapters are pretty much written, I think we're going to go back and look at the goals, objectives, and policies to sort of make that a little bit more cohesive. They're just sort of scattered between chapters and try and make that more organized. So if there are ideas and things that the town ought to undertake, those are the kind of, that's where we'll be listing more specific projects and things that need to be done. So if you have thoughts on those, that is something that they'll be coming back to, even if they've moved on from the chapter content.
How many more chapters do they have?
I think there's 12. So we've done those 3. We have those other 3 coming up next week, and then what's left is transportation, which has been, I guess we've had a couple of reviews of that. Housing, which is one of the major ones. Joe Bublat had taken that, but it sounds like he might be stepping back from his involvement to some degree as personal family things he needs to attend to. He'll be involved as he can, but so that draft might has not been updated. And then the last one is health and human services, which hasn't been reviewed yet. Might be minimal changes.
So is the water wastewater one that's in the utilities?
The like town sewer and
Yeah.
that discussion, yeah.
Was that's in the utilities section that's coming up?
Yeah, it's kind of touched on in economic development and housing, but I think the utilities facility is where an argument might be made for looking into those. Yeah.
And then for permits, the Uric Dam, that one is set to, like, the permit is set to expire in October.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear anything from them about
Yeah,
that one?
they said that they secured funding. They had planned on doing it this summer, but they I guess the funding remains, and they're intending to do it next summer and plan to come back for a new permit renewal or amendment or whatever. So they'll be back for a hearing at some point.
Yeah, it'd be great. And you have that in writing that they're gonna come back? For this,
Yes.
Cause it would be really nice to not start from scratch.
Yeah.
There was so much to that.
Mhm.
I mean, if the plan is the same,
Right.
it would be great for them to request an extension even. Something.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a formal process for an extension or a renewal, specifically, but basically we'll have a hearing. They'll present basically assuming nothing dramatic has changed, they'll present the same application. We'll have the decision to review, and then Yeah, I think it should be pretty straightforward.
It would be great, and in that one, they still had a lot of things to do. And we had those as conditions
Mhm.
in there. So now if there's some time for maybe this winter while they're getting ready.
Mhm.
If they could just look at that, it's almost like a list,
Mhm.
like we need these things.
Right.
They could just make those exhibits.
Mhm.
Then if the board voted to approve the application,
Yeah,
we should have very, very few conditions.
right. Mhm.
And then, uh. For the board members who weren't here, nobody was on the board. No one's left who did that one. But there's a big dam out there that's in Weathersfield that used to supply water for Springfield. And this dam is still there, and the project is basically to remove that dam. But it also there's a lot of accumulated material in there, so there's a really, really big, I would say, a temporary impact on like our roads and such as they truck. They did some calculations. It's a lot of trucks to get that material out of there. And so the board had concerns with that traffic. And then also what the site would ultimately become and look like. Those were some of the things that weren't necessarily settled.
Mhm.
And then what about Habitat for Humanity here? I asked because I saw a for sale sign
Oh,
out there.
so I know that the Grange is for sale. I don't think the Habitat for Humanity ever purchased that. It was
Oh.
part of their discussion. And actually Jeff has been someone who's inquired about the Grange and doing something with it.
Jeff, who,
The applicant.
the
here,
applicant,
yeah.
okay. I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so that's for sale. The Habitat for Humanity themselves, the kind of the leader of that project has left, and my contacts with anyone else there, they've never responded to me. So I followed up a few times in the winter, spring, and summer, and have not received any kind of response.
So that one would be one where they'd be starting over.
Yeah, and that was basically how it was left at the last time that they showed up. Was the boards had changed, the ZBA is now a DRB and all this stuff. So they had come, presented their kind of preliminary plans, and said they'd be back, and then I never heard from them.
And you know, to be honest with you, because the community knows that I'm on as secretary on zoning board with the every, people in town asked me, you know, what the status is, and because my property's kind of over the bank. You know, people down in my development have been wondering what's gonna be going on up there too. So,
I
you
wonder
know,
if I could maybe I'll reach out to, I'll just like go on their website and see if there's another contact,
You know,
because
somebody
there was-
did mow it, you know, somewhere around there, and
Mhm.
someone cleaned up around the drain.
Right.
That's for sale, but there
But
has been,
do they even own it?
Do they own it?
the Habitat for Humanity
Yeah.
on that property, yes, they do.
They do.
They don't own the Grange, but they own the lot. with
They
it.
did actually buy it.
Yeah.
They actually buy it,
Oh, okay, all right.
yes.
Yeah, so they should get back to you.
You would think, yeah.
Yeah, if they
There was
own it.
3 people who were regularly in contact with me. I know the one left, and then the other 2 I continued to try and reach out to and never heard back. But yeah, let me see if I go on their website, maybe I can find a new contact or something.
So their original plan was they were gonna buy the Grange if they could come up with a price. And because they've never bought the Grange, I'm assuming that they could not come up with an agreement with that property owner. So the Grange itself is for sale.
Yeah.
The property, that's the restaurant and everything, that whole property there is sold.
Okay.
That's stats up there.
And for future agenda items, is there anything? Any applications that are coming soon or you're working on that you think we might get?
Um. No, I don't think so, other than the Uric Springfield Dam. No, I haven't learned about any new commercial or subdivision.
Okay, so then I'm just thinking about discussion for future agendas right now. There's nothing we wanna put on there. We have this intention to do compliance,
Mhm.
and I presume you'll tell us when.
I
you
think,
have
I think I'm probably caught up enough that we could have a meeting. What is this, is the second one of the month, so maybe next month, we could do a compliance meeting. And I'll just say that since starting full time, it's made a world of difference in terms of my ability to respond to people's inquiries and emails and turn permits around and follow up on compliance stuff. I had a long list of projects that have been checked in like every several months. But now I'm able to, I've kind of cleaned that all up, and everything that's ongoing, I'm able to stay on top of. So I think we can move forward pretty confidently.
You had mentioned a couple meetings, I don't even know when it was, maybe it was 3 meetings, 2 meetings, anyway, about you guys were gonna review those slope, the road.
Yeah, so
To discuss.
we had a meeting with the fire chief, highway, and Brian Bosenberg from the planning commission. And he's proposed or I guess, it hasn't been proposed at a meeting. He's starting to prepare, driveway standards.
Okay.
And so slope being kind of the primary topic on that. So that's something that's likely to come around after the town plan.
Gotcha. So,
We haven't really, it hasn't been discussed at the planning commission yet.
is it gonna change the whole, like driveway, the whole policy right now, or and they're just gonna add it and they're looking at amending the whole?
Well, I think everything's up for discussion.
Is it-
Nothing might happen, or there might be a very specific standard that applies to all driveways. I would imagine there'll be some kind of a happy medium that comes out of it. That I think they're discussing what is appropriate for like grading of driveways, and separately what slope is appropriate for building any driveway. And then like the turning radius and pull offs and ability to for cars to pass and things like that are all subjects that were brought up. But I have no idea what the board will do with it.
Yeah, and also, we, like, one of the reasons that, this sort of came up, or we needed something, was because we had an application and a site where there were a bundle of triggers. There was a big river that was adjacent to the project. There was a steep slope, there were little streams, and we had an applicant who proposed, putting the access right there, and had gotten an access permit for it. And the other thing that the driveway standards take a stab at, I saw a draft, is when to require stormwater documents. Because that's sort of I think the development review board needs some guidance on what happens when someone's proposing a driveway in an area where we have all these environmentally sensitive areas that are identified for us to take into consideration, all happening like that one, so that we don't have to decide what's required. And driveways by far are the sort of the most development that we see that encounters all of those things. A house site is sort of a discrete little thing that you can look at and say, yep, we get that. But the driveways can be
Well, my mind goes back to that well truck, that accident that was that last fall and this winter where I mean, it was just the road was too narrow and it slid off that house. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
that?
Those are happening?
Where is
Is it
that?
down?
Yeah, was that last year? Was
I
that
don't
when the-
remember. I can't tell you.
The oil truck was like slid off the side. 'cause
You
the
mean
road
down in
was-
Perkinsville, then? Yeah,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like,
down, instead of taking a right field of the landfill, we just go a little bit further and they had a driveway that was narrow.
Oh,
he didn't
Right
make it.
there.
It just was just enough that they had to. It took
Yeah.
a while because the road was closed.
it's fairly common, and that's one of, I mean, with driveway. With driveway standards, everybody's gonna have different opinions. And there's. Sort of like, well, if you wanna build something to get to your own house, what do we care? What does the town care? And then the fire department does care, cause they have to provide these services for people. And as do oil trucks.
Yeah, and if you know that they have to get oil, then it has to accommodate a standard oil vehicle or fire trucks or, those standards. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's all in there.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
how. How much they include or don't. So that's in there. It's right now, the draft is. Pretty considerate. It's got a lot of that stuff in there, so hopefully they'll sort through it and get it refined. But what it does do is it includes language about the things that we really need, specifically those, what the beginning of the access looks like and what slopes we can improve
Mhm.
projects on. That is,
Yep.
those getting those baked in there would be really important. Or at least that's what I've said
Ideally,
to the planning commission interactions I've had. So the next meeting then would be, that would be October 28th. Sound right?
Wouldn't it be the 20? Oh, we're second and
Oh.
fourth, yeah.
We're second and fourth.
Yep,
yeah,
So can I delete the one for the 14th? Is that for sure we're not meeting on the 14th?
yeah, I don't have an application for
Okay.
anything.
I always put both Tuesdays in just in case.
I do too.
Yeah. So, Michael, we meet the second and fourth Tuesday at 6:30, and the way we leave it with Brian is if he gets an application, he can sort of, especially now that there's 5 of us, he should be able to just schedule it for the next time. But because we've been sometimes down to 3 or 2 or 4 members, he's been saying, hey, can we do this hearing on this date? It'd be nice for him not to have to bother with that step.
So do we adjourn and then do the checklist? Is the checklist considered deliberation?
Yeah.
So we turn, okay.
Do you wanna go over what you expect for the compliance meeting? Do you wanna do a few permits in a particular order? You wanna start at a certain date?
Uh, I don't, I don't remember, I thought we came to some.
My feeling was we should start chronologically going backwards. Some of them were a little bit too soon because like
Yeah.
certificate of occupancy and stuff was still outstanding. But specifically, we were talking about certain ones that Grace had a concern about, one that was recent and stuff that she didn't
Within the
think
last
she
2
followed
years,
through on.
you had mentioned within the last 2 years.
Within the last 2 years. And I get that. My thought was to go, just to take a chunk of time back to when I still know what was going on because I was on the board.
Mhm.
And work our way forward on just every single one.
Mhm.
Because then we look at the decision, you can drive by and say, yep, I didn't see any red flags.
Mhm.
We checked that one off. Because the benefit is that we see everybody's treated the same. That was my but then, we would be perceived as targeting people if we say, well, Ryan noticed this thing and Grace noticed this thing and. So that's how it got on our radar screen. I don't know what anybody's thoughts are on.
One way to think of it, this maybe precedes you, is the 15-year statute of limitations. If we do observe something that's in violation that's greater than 15 years old, then it's not something that's enforceable. So we could start at 15 years back and go this way. Be one way to do it without being real specific as to.
I was gonna bring that up even to when I was.
Right.
When I started.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters either way. But that would be kind of a non-discriminatory way.
And.
Sorry.
And then the things that don't meet the general performance standards, those should just go on, should just go on the list.
Okay.
So, that, I like the idea of starting recent and working back, or starting when I started and working forward. And then saying, then anything that comes up, like if something's not meeting a performance standard. Because those things affect the abutters.
Mhm.
And that, like noise emissions, light emissions, things for any project that has a permit,
Mhm.
we should be able to roll those into that compliance.
I guess the only thing would be nighttime conditions, which is often when the lighting is an issue. What year approximately? I'll just start with January and go through that.
2018.
Okay, so I'll start with whatever.
If you go, just go right to, the January 1st of 2018.
Okay.
So I have a question, because we're going through the assessment process right now, reassessment. At what point from permit process to the lister does the addition become their taxes are updated for those additions? Do you know what I mean? Because if they're creating a deck and it's incomplete, they're not gonna get taxed on it, but if it's complete, how do we know?
They typically will go out within the year, and if it's not complete at the time, they'll make note and say this is, and they'll assess it at partial completion. So they'll still be, their taxes will go up even though it's not completely done. And then they'll have a note to go back out the next year or whatever the time frame is. But I think if they go out, it's incomplete, it gets put on the list to revisit.
So all the permits, they just go onto the lister's list to.
Mhm.
So even for
And-
construction with the house, it doesn't have a certificate of occupancy, but they're living in it, they're still gonna get taxed, or that they'll still go out and.
In theory, I don't know how where they are in their list of permits, but I give
Right.
each a copy of the permit to the listers, and as far as I know, they go out and inspect them.
I just wondered, I was just, cause see that red bar that says we're in a
Right.
reassessment, so I just wondered on our process with that was at.
Yeah, and yours wouldn't be something that we would. Like, Ryan, we're not going through the zoning permit. The zoning permits and reviewing them, we're going through the decisions. The
Right.
ZBA decisions.
Only permits that have been issued by the CBA.
Yeah,
That'd be a lot of work.
because he's gotta do,
Yeah.
you gotta do compliance all on your own.
Yeah, and most of that is driven by complaints. So if something comes in, then I'll inspect and do that. Yeah, so I'll go back, I'll find 2 or 3 permits from that time period. And we'll confirm that they're meeting the conditions of that decision as well as the performance standards.
And the performance standards I bring up. Because I feel like any random ones, you can just lump in.
Mhm.
For us to talk about.
Oh, okay, so even if it's not a ZBA decision, if there's just a property that any of us know about as something that's not meeting those performance standards.
Yeah,
We can have that.
because I think we should just talk about it and then you can do your thing.
Mhm.
If we don't have jurisdiction.
Mhm.
On it, but I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have said it that way. If we're gonna go back and we're gonna work on these, if any of the development review board decisions that you're aware of have performance standards, that should just make the list. You, not like Joe Blow's lights are shooting off into space. And we wanna talk about that, cause we don't,
Mhm.
but if the parcel has a permit from the development review board, we do.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, the rules of procedure.
Okay. We signed a version of it, or not a version of it, we signed the same thing. I had a different signature page. I thought we had signed this updated one. But I only had a copy of the old signature page, and so that one's a little bit cleaner, has your names on it, except for Michael's. Nothing's changed about the rules of procedure since we discussed it
That's the
last.
one you just emailed, right? Yeah.
Did I email it?
Got one in the email.
Really? It's what we talked about maybe 4 meetings ago.
No, I mean, like in the last several, hold on. Maybe it came up and I didn't see.
Yeah, I think it was
anything on
with your welcome,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
with from
Right,
Michael,
the-
and email.
That's right, I didn't open it, because I thought I was just getting copied.
Perfect. You're familiar.
Did I make the right decision? Or was I supposed to open that? I thought I was just
I don't
getting
think it
copied.
matters.
Just has a copy of
If
it.
you're curious, you signed it once.
You're right, and now I remember. Like, I don't read this. This is Michael.
Do you,
Do you want Michael to print his name and sign it, or what?
Yeah,
Yeah, if you don't mind.
and for great, we need Grace to sign it,
Mhm.
and so do you want to, as we look at the, like, what's on the next agenda? And you're taking notes there, do you just wanna put?
Sign
Sign rules of procedure,
Mhm.
or you can just
Great.
independently. Track Grace down.
Did you get a chance? to
Yeah,
read that ahead of time? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, she doesn't usually run into the office.
I
She's
work with lawyers, so
I can see.
No, not just.
But it'll be in my office and she does.
Yeah.
I suppose I
We
could.
What's the
talked
name
about
on
it
it?
in
Yeah.
depth, I think.
The alternates are
Yeah,
gonna get
yeah.
their
She
signatures.
did those
They
little
aren't
updates.
regularly showing, so
So,
reach out to them.
Yeah, or put it in the mail. Send it to her, say sign it and send it to Joseph. Like
I
10,
probably
10.
won't.
They're gonna say you swing up to school and do that.
Okay. Anybody else, anything we wanna go over before we adjourn?
I'm good, but do you want me to make a motion? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you all.
yeah, thank you.
Andrea, please tell Carl that we missed some.
I will.